Chapter 2631, Mighty. Chapter 2631. Mighty. Is Benefactor Yi here to render aid to the Divine Prefecture? To destroy the allied forces of the Devil World, the Dark World, and the empty Divine Realm? Tongchan Arhat clasped his hands together and asked Yi Futian. His temperament was outstanding as he wore a smile on his face. Overall, he gave people a feeling of being incredibly friendly. However, Yi Futian knew Tongchan Arhat to be a very scheming individual, and what he specialized in was the cultivation of telepathy. Still, Yi Futian was a little curious. Now his strength was much greater than that of Tongchan Arhat, and he wondered if the telepathy of the other would be effective on him. He smiled as he looked at Tongchan Arhat. A thought surfaced in his mind. As he was observing the look on Tongchan Arhat's face, he saw that the expression of the other remained unchanged, and he could not fathom what he was thinking. Yi Futian then put the thought in his mind aside. After all, in addition to Tongchan Arhat, Tongchan Buddha Lord was also here. This kind of individual with a superpower would be no weaker than him. Perhaps he would be able to see what was on his mind. When facing Tongchan Buddha Lord and Tongchan Arhat, he would do well to watch himself when he dealt with them. I cultivated in the original realm, and I don't belong to any of the 6 realms. I stand alone and do not join with any other forces, so I am in no position to intervene in the battle of the 6 realms, Yi Futian replied. Benefactor Yi was once from the Divine Prefecture, and the original realm was part of the Divine Prefecture. Not to mention you had spent considerable time at the world of Buddhism. The Devil World, the Dark World, and the empty Divine Realm have now invaded the Divine Prefecture and disrupted the lives of every living being. Benefactor Yi is someone who has a destination with Buddhism and has extraordinary strength. You ought to help defeat the evil and defend what is right, Tongchan Arhat proclaimed loudly, persuading Yi Futian to take action. I am of average aptitude, and my cultivation is shallow. I do not have such high aspirations as the Arhat. The matter of eliminating the evils of the world and defending the righteousness is better served by the Arhat and the other Buddha's lords. Yi Futian responded with a smile, calm and easy, as if they were chatting casually. What was right and what was evil? Although the Devil World was the invading force, hadn't Divine Prefecture forces invaded the original realm and attacked Ziwei once upon a time? At that time, who had stepped forward to fight against evil and defend righteousness? The good and evil in the world could not be so easily judged by a single word. He couldn't preside over the battle of the 6 realms, because he could not intervene. The Devil World and the Reaper from the Dark Court were inextricably linked to him as well. Is that so? A cold, sarcastic voice said. The tone was not as friendly as Tongchan Arhat. The man who spoke at this moment was none other than Tongchan Buddha Lord. He looked at Yi Futian and said, I heard that you had gone to the Devil World to cultivate, and Yu Sheng, your good friend and brother, is now a giant in the Devil World, the heir of the Devil Emperor. Later, the Dark Court had paid you a visit in Ziwei Segmentum. It was said that the Reaper was also present. These are all true, aren't they? Tongchan Buddha Lord stared at Yi Futian with terrifying eyes. A golden light of Buddha flowed inside of them, as if he wanted to see through everything. At the same time, there was a mysterious and unfathomable power that shrouded Yi Futian. Clearly, he wanted to see into Yi Futian's thoughts. Yi Futian fixed his attention on Tongchan Buddha Lord with a smile on his face. His expression did not change because of what the other had said, but at the moment when the other asked the question, he did move a thought in his mind. Although he covered it up quickly and didn't think about it anymore, the other could still spy some of it. At least this was for real, just as I thought. Tongchan Buddha Lord stared at Yi Futian across the air. It seems that Benefactor Yi not only not intends to stand on the side of the Divine Prefecture to help eliminate these invaders, but you also want to help the Devil World and the Dark World to invade the Divine Prefecture? Honestly, Yi Futian felt quite indifferent inside. He thought that the other knew what had happened in the Devil World and the Ziwei Segmentum, although this was not some big secret, and they were easy enough to uncover. This at least proved that the others had spies hidden somewhere. Whether it was the Devil World or the Ziwei Segmentum, spies were watching their every move. It seemed that he was still too naive. Over the years, the Ziwei segmentum had gathered cultivators from everywhere to enter Ziwei Imperial Palace, to cultivate and strengthen the Ziwei Imperial Palace. There was a large number of people that were recruited, though it was not so easy to become part of the core group at Ziwei Imperial Palace. It was not so difficult to enter the Ziwei Imperial Palace to cultivate. To dispatch 1 or 2 spies inside would not be a difficult task for any of these principalities. Therefore, he assumed that the Devil World and the Ziwei segmentum might have already been compromised. I have something I want to ask the Buddha Lord, Yi Futian asked. Tongchan Buddha Lord looked at him and said, "Please." The Buddha Lord is an expert in telepathy and can spy on the thoughts of others at will. However, only the Buddha Lord himself knows what he had detected in the thoughts of others. Yi Futian smiled and continued, "This means that the Buddha Lord is free to say whatever he pleases, with no one the wiser? How dare you?" Some Buddhist cultivator lashed out at him. He clasped his hands together, as the light of Buddha was shining all around him. A powerful oppressive force permeated, and went straight for Yi Futian. A sharp aura flashed through the eyes of Tongchan Buddha Lord, directed pointing at Yi Futian. "Who is the Buddha Lord that the likes of you dared to question him?" A Buddhist cultivator took a step forward, and his body was shining with the brilliance of Vajra. Waves of domineering light of Buddha pressured Yi Futian in the void. When Yi Futian saw this, he merely glanced at the one who spoke, a coldness in his heart. Then he took a step forward. With just one step, infinite golden light swept out, as well as a terrifying power of Buddhism that swooped down. The sound of Buddha lingered between heaven and earth, as a monstrous light of Buddha was released, drowning this corner of the sky. The sound of Buddha that contained within the light of Buddha sounded like a powerful spell. Bang! Under this terrifying pressure, the cultivator, who took a step further, was knocked back immediately. He raised his head to glare at Yi Futian in the void, and his expression was not pleasant. "With such lowly cultivation, aren't you ashamed to parade like this in front of me?" Yi Futian chided loudly, like the sound of Buddha from the Great Path, resounding throughout the void. It was like a lion's roar or a glaring Vajra. This loud boom deafened the eardrums of the other, and his body seemed on the verge of being shattered. The light of Buddha upon him was dispelled by that shock, and he stumbled a few steps backward. His expression changed rapidly to one of shock. However, at this moment, the light of Buddha was shining on Tongchan Buddha Lord, covering the surrounding area and protecting that cultivator within it. "Your cultivation is lowly, and yet you are here mouthing off instead of working on your cultivation. Which great Buddha taught you that?" Yi Futian's eyes were full of contempt as they swept towards that Buddhist cultivator. The man had nothing to say. At this time, the aura in his body was still quite unsteady. Furthermore, Yi Futian had suppressed him with a powerful Buddhist method, and he had no answer to that. "I have cultivated Buddhism on the Spirit Mountain for decades, and received many blessings of Buddhism. I have spent a lot of time studying the wonders of Buddhism with my being, and I still find it wanting. Now a mere Buddha Lord comes here and refuses to be questioned. How arrogant is that?" Yi Futian said coldly, "It was based on my relationship with Buddhism that I address you as the Buddha Lord, strictly out of respect given to Buddhism. Otherwise, since when do you think it's your business to give me advice on what I should or should not do?" Yi Futian's speech was aggressive and unrelenting, a complete reversal from the humility he exhibited before. It seemed that at this time, these Buddhist cultivators finally realized that the young man who had gone to Spirit Mountain once upon a time to seek the way was now the world-renowned Lord and Master of Ziwei Segmentum. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2632, Tongchan's Malice. Chapter 2632. Tongchan's Malice. His trip to the Devil World and his meeting with Qingyao were all private matters. As the Palace Lord of Ziwei Imperial Palace, Yi Futian felt how he chose to conduct his business was of no concern to Tongchan Buddha Lord. Those Buddhist cultivators could only stare at Yi Futian. This was the cultivator who had once defeated all the Buddhas. He had demonstrated superb talents, while he was cultivating on the Spirit Mountain. He even received instructions from some Buddha lords who had passed on to him Buddha's celerity, one of the 6 superpowers of Buddhism. Later, they heard that Futian had become invincible in the land of the Divine Prefecture by virtue of Buddha's celerity, as no one could track or follow him. Buddha's celerity had become a trademark of Futian's and formed the basis he capitalized amply and freely. You cultivated methods of Buddhism and returned to the original realm, reigning over Ziwei Segimentum and lord over a territory you called your own. It seems that you have quite forgotten where you have gotten your ability and your roots. Next to him, Shinyan Buddha Lord commented nonchalantly, with the status you enjoyed today, no wonder you are so puffed up. In the eyes of Shinyan Buddha Lord, Futian's achievement today and his ability to preserve himself was completely contributed to the methods of Buddhism he had cultivated. He even believed that everything Futian had was based on his foundation in Buddhism. Without Buddha's celerity, he had no way to establish himself. Puffed up? Oh, so they thought that he was full of himself. You speak as if the Spirit Mountain of Buddhism was your personal property, forgetting that you, too, are but one of the many cultivators who have gone to the mountain to seek the truth. Futian jeered with some sarcasm, then proceeded to ignore Shinyan Buddha Lord completely. Everyone was entitled to their view, and once they decided what that view was, it was not something that could be easily persuaded by others. This was especially true for people like Shinyan Buddha Lord. Since this was his view, there was no need for Futian to argue further with him. Having said that, he turned around and was ready to leave. Wait! Another indifferent voice spoke, stopping Futian in his tracks. He then saw Tongchan Buddha Lord clasped his hands together, who continued, "What kind of agreement have you reached with the devil world and the dark court?" His voice couldn't be more indifferent or certain, as if he had already determined that this was the case. That Futian and the cultivators of these 2 major worlds had reached some kind of consensus and were ready to join forces to fight against the Divine Prefecture. Once again, it's none of your business to interfere with what I choose to do. People continued to make their way over to this site, including the cultivators from the Divine Prefecture, who had just received the news. What a justice fighter you fancied yourself to be. Futian looked at Tongchan Buddha Lord and said sarcastically, "Rats like you are not worthy of calling themselves Buddha." When his voice faded, the light of Buddha, likewise, flared up brilliantly upon his body. Above the firmament, the light of Buddha flowed freely, as if gathering to form yet another giant Buddha. Suddenly 2 gigantic Buddhas, each occupying a place, confronted each other without reservation, as both of them released infinite divine splendor. Buzz! With a turn of his mind, Tongchan Buddha Lord levitated as the light of Buddha circulated behind him, and massive and incomparable symbols of Wan appeared. Above the firmament, the hand of the giant Buddha struck Futian, and it was a strike that contained countless symbols of Wan. These symbols rotated and intertwined into a massive divine seal in the symbol of Wan, and slammed towards Futian. Symbol of Wan. The symbol of Wan was one of the strongest Buddhist seals, aggressive and dominant. Its power differed based on each cultivator's own understanding. Futian cast a glance in front of him. He clasped his hands together in like manner, just as the giant Buddha raised his hand to blast out the symbol of Wan. The 2 were facing one another, without the least bit of hesitation. 2 huge symbols of Wan collided together. For a while, the space seemed to be collapsing as a terrifying power swept across this corner of the sky. Even the realm of Buddhism was shattered. The extremely dazzling light of Buddha turned into a terrible storm that ravaged the space. Even the cultivators from faraway places were forced to look this way, because they thought that the cultivators from the devil world had invaded again. Futian and Tongchan Buddha Lord stood in the middle of the storm, and each failed to overpower the other. In this one symbol of Wan, they each had integrated their own comprehension, and it turned out that they were evenly matched. While exercising similar Buddhist methods, total victory was only possible unless they had an absolute advantage in strength. I have cultivated Buddhism for decades and far surpassed your cultivation for 1,000 years. In front of me, how dare you call yourself a Buddha? Futian looked at Tongchan Buddha Lord, and his words were cutting. Tongchan Buddha Lord had already indicted him on charges of colluding with the Devil World and the Dark World, and against the allied forces of the Divine Prefecture. Now he attacked in the name of eliminating the evil to defend righteousness. Under such circumstances, did he still need to maintain a semblance of courtesy with the others? As the storm dissipated, many cultivators appeared in the area around the two of them. Among them, there were many top figures from the Divine Prefecture. Yi Futian responded casually. As soon as his voice fell, the divine light of the great path circled all around him, and it was blindingly brilliant. Buzz! Wang Xiao disappeared. His divine body with its golden armor arrived instantly in front of Yi Futian, as his fist dealt a blow at the same time. A terrifying stream of hot air swallowed up this space and overwhelmed Yi Futian, zooming in for the kill. That blow caused a golden streamer of flame to appear in the void. Yi Futian's eyes were frightening. When he saw the incoming attack, he raised his hand throughout a palm print. On this great palm print, there was a symbol of Wan with horrific light of Buddha circling around it. When it slammed down, it seemed to cover the entire sky, accompanied by a power of Yin that froze the space. The two attacks collided, and an aura of horror burst into the space. A storm of destruction materialized around them, but neither backed away from this confrontation. The strength of their physique was unimaginably powerful. When Yi Futian's great palm print landed on the opponent's attack, it seemed to have a blast on an indestructible divine arms. Wang Zhao's body appeared to be more than just pure flesh, but an extension of a divine arms. His body had been tempered, just like how a divine arm was made. Was this why Wang Xiao dared to proclaim that he had already cast a divine body of his own? But what price did Wang Xiao have to pay for a divine body cast in this way? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2634. You don't qualify. Chapter 2634. You don't qualify. The road of cultivation could not be accomplished overnight. Wang Xiao managed to complete this journey in a great leap, which far surpassed the leap what his natural ability could achieve. He cast a divine body that was comparable to divine arms. It was not difficult to imagine that Wang Xiao must have paid a great price for it. Even so, Yi Futian's divine body was not to be underestimated. Even if Wang Xiao was as powerful as he was now, Yi Futian had no qualm facing his attacks head-on again and again, as palm strikes and fist blows continued to collide. Those cultivators watching the battlefield saw that these two had collided numerous times in just a short period. Every time they collided, there was a violent outburst of sound, and an astonishing storm was forming. At this time, the vast space was filled with a suffocating pressure, as if the space was about to collapse. Especially in the center of the battlefield, that aura of destruction was even more frightening. The symbol of Wan. Cultivators from the Buddhist sect watched Yi Futian's attacks closely and saw that this palm strike was derived from the symbol of Wan. Every attack contained the monstrous power of Buddhism, which suppressed all evil demons. What was more terrifying was that this symbol of Wan seemed to have undergone a transformation through Yi Futian, who had incorporated his abilities within. When the palm strikes blasted out, the sound of Buddha lingered like the Buddhist mantras of truth, which further enhanced its boundless prowess of Buddhism. In addition, with every release of the symbol of Wan, they could feel a terrifying chill that was enough to freeze this space, their spiritual souls, and invade Wang Zhao's body. Look, that space seems to be on the verge of being frozen and solidified. If it weren't for the golden divine flames contained in Wang Zhao's divine body, he probably would have been shut down by now. Some cultivators marveled as they watched what took place on the battlefield. Yi Futian had indeed grown stronger, though the collisions between the two did not spread to a wide radius on account that these two had controlled their power with immaculate precision. Everyone watching could feel the true prowess behind their attacks. The one who looked the worst was the city lord of Tianyan. He knew very well the terrifying power Wang Xiao possessed in close-quarter combat, so much so that even he was reluctant to engage him directly. But still Wang Xiao was suppressed completely. At this time, another violent loud bang was heard, and Wang Zhao's body was repelled by this attack. His eye never left Futian, who was ahead. Although he was suppressed, his body was now indestructible and invincible. His body and spiritual soul had been transformed, so that even if they were invaded by the power of the Great Path, contained in Futian's palm strike, he remained unharmed. Chapter 2637, Unparalleled Method. Chapter 2637, Unparalleled Method. Above the firmament, a terrible storm of death appeared. The crowd saw a figure floating in midair. It was the Reaper from the Dark Court. Her body floated above as her cloak moved with the wind. The whole world turned into the color of darkness as the clouds of death hovered over the boundless space. The area covered by the clouds was vast, and the entire battlefield seemed to be entirely shrouded. Above the firmament, the face of death seemed to have appeared, and the sight was unspeakably terrifying. For a time, the whole world turned into darkness, and all the auras that flowed within were eroded by the will of death. Even the air they breathed seemed to be polluted by the breath of death. Many of them couldn't help but stare at the cloaked figure in the void. She seemed to represent the god of death, who was the spokesperson of death in this world. Everything was about to wither and decay. Even the defensive matrix below was being eroded by the force of death, and gradually became blackened. Wang Zhao raised his head to look yonder. The sky tremoring in his hand was filled with terrifying imperial might. In any of the previous battles, if the Reaper were to come forward, his imperial arms would be the mightiest deterrent. "Spread out," said Wang Zhao. Immediately, many cultivators moved away from Yi Qingyao. Everyone moved to different positions, covering an extensive area, and they were not alone. Even the cultivators from the opposing alliance were also dispersed, not standing with Yi Qingyao. Instead, they had each chosen principality from the divine prefecture to stick to. This way, the imperial arms could not attack all of them at will. However, next to Yi Qingyao, there were two other great cultivators, both from the Dark Court and the Empty Divine Realm, who were responsible for ensuring Yi Qingyao's safety. The auras from both of them were super terrifying, and they were no youngsters. Even with a brief glance, one could tell they were existences from an older generation, who had lived for many years. The cultivator from Empty Divine Realm suddenly moved his thought, and wisps of fluctuation rippled through the space. In the surrounding area, many spatial doors now manifested. At the same time, somewhere very far away, corresponding spatial doors also appeared. This utilization of space was extremely awesome. The entire space domain was filled with the suffocating coercion of the Great Path. Everyone present was a top cultivator. Before, they had not had such a large-scale confrontation. They didn't expect the appearance of Yi Futian would trigger such a major collision, resulting in a total showdown. Buzz! Yi Futian disappeared from where he was, completely without a trace. Shunyan Buddha Lord looked in the sky above with terrifying eyes. It was Emo Chinga, the evil sage from Empty Divine Realm. Wang Zhao glanced at him. As the evil sage of the Empty Divine Realm, Emo Chinga's strength was incredible. He was one of the most powerful existences in the Empty Divine Realm. But even so, Wang Zhao couldn't care less. With the sky tremoring in his hand, he was not afraid of anyone. Even if it was the premier demon sage Yan Gi, he was still up for the fight. Buzz! A horrible imperial might permeated the sky tremoring in his hand. Emo Chinga saw this, and his palms slammed forward. Immediately, numerous doors of spaces seemed to go on without end as they overlapped each other, and continued forward, heading straight towards Wang Zhao. The sky tremoring in Wang Zhao's hand moved in front of him, and smashed down hard. Terrifying shockwaves rushed into the doors of space. But all anyone could see was that the attack had been distorted as the shockwaves were deflected. Instead, they swept towards other directions along the doors of space without hitting Emo Chinga. An incomparably powerful aura spread out from Emo Chinga, shrouding this infinite space. Even Yi Futian, who was in the distance, was also covered within, just like Wang Zhao. Domain world! Yi Futian exclaimed when he beheld the sight. Everything in the world was changing, as if they were no longer in the original space they were in before, but came to a totally different space. Emochinga's strength was incredible and touched upon that near-deity domain. With this level of existence, his offensive power may not be as top-notch as Wang Xiao, who carried the imperial arms with him. However, his use of domains and his comprehension regarding the path was something with which Wang Xiao could not hope to compare. If you want to slay someone in the second tribulation plane, who was aided by the imperial arms all by yourself, it's quite impossible, said Emochinga. I will lend you a hand. Whether you can kill him or not depends on your strength. Obviously, Futian understood that. He did not think he could kill Wang Xiao, who possessed the imperial arms by himself. He needed someone to distract Wang Xiao for him, so that he had the chance to deal the fatal blow. The three major realms of the devil world were cooperating with him in the launch of this battle, and Wang Xiao was their ultimate target. At the moment on the battlefield, the situation couldn't be more obvious. All the cultivators were occupied, except Wang Xiao and Emochinga. Without Futian, Emochinga might be in an unfavorable position. No matter what domain he reached, he still did not have the same kind of massive destructive power that Wang Xiao was capable of. However, now with the addition of Futian, there were some variables in play. Although Futian could not stop Wang Xiao, his Buddhist celerity could evade Wang Xiao forever and tangle him up endlessly. Now with Emochinga, the evil sage, no one could know what that battle would actually look like. Very good. Futian nodded, not refusing his offer. Even the two of you, what can you do? Wang Xiao responded with coldness. Would two powerful cultivators enough to kill him, just because they wanted to? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Evil Sage of the Empty Divine Realm and the Palace Lord of Ziwei Imperial Palace. Two top figures of the world, but acting in a cowardly manner? Wang Xiao said coldly, put away the imperial arms, and you can pick either one of us at your pleasure. A voice replied. It was Emochinga. Leveraging the imperial arms was the real cheat. How terrifying was the increase of combat effectiveness with the aid of complete imperial arms. Without the imperial arms, Wang Xiao, at most, could only be considered as a peak cultivator on the battlefield, but not a peak-level giant. However, with the imperial arms by his side, he lorded above all. Emochinga is here, Wang Xiao secretly noted to himself. He spoke first because he wanted to fish them out. Now he was certain that Emochinga was in the surrounding area, hiding somewhere in the space. Futian, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. Buzz! At this moment, Wang Xiao felt that the area he was in had solidified, and everything was on the verge of coming to a complete still. The terrifying divine light of space shrouded his entire body. At the same time, the unparalleled divine glory of space rained down from the firmament, as every ray of divine light in the space turned into a sharp blade that could kill everything. It came straight down at him. Just ahead of him, Emochinga's figure appeared, and behind him, doors of space appeared once again. Before they had even collided, he was already planning his way out. After all, Wang Xiao had the imperial arms, so he better have a way to retreat just in case. Seeing the endless divine glory descending, the sky tremoring in Wang Xiao's hand blasted into the void, and a storm of destruction suddenly washed over everything. It shattered the sealed space and destroyed everything in front of them. But almost at the same instant, Emochinga's finger pointed forward. The finger continued to magnify in Wang Xiao's eyes. It seemed as if it was a strike from the heavenly gods. Before the attack had even landed, he could feel its incredibly destructive power. You are asking for it, Wang Xiao secretly remarked. Emochinga dared to attack close to him, and this attack was not some elusive attack made up of smoke and mirrors, but a bona fide attack. If that was the case, Emochinga must withstand his counterattack. Even if he had arranged a way out, he was taking a tremendous risk. Without any hesitation, the sky tremoring blasted forward towards that finger. As Wang Xiao dared not take Emochinga's attack lightly, the hammer fell, and turned into a stormy shockwave that flattened everything before him. If Emo Chinga was as bold as this, then let him pay the price. Kill! The sky tremoring lashed out with a supreme and overbearing power to attack, intending to kill with one blow. The instant his attack fell, he suddenly sensed an extremely dangerous aura behind him. But at this moment, Wang Xiao couldn't care less. A thought flashed through his mind. Chapter 2641, Rebirth. Chapter 2641. Rebirth. In the silent space, golden flame and blood tainted the land. Fresh blood continued to gush into sky tremor in the ground and merged with it. The flowing blood actually shimmered with a life aura. It wrapped around sky tremor. Then the flesh, which had been disintegrated, reformed and took the shape of a human. The silhouette of a human appeared. A storm stirred up in the surroundings. The aura of the great path circulated and merged into the human form. Gradually, the illusory figure materialized and a person was formed. The person had a handsome face. His looks resembled Wang Zhao's. However, there seemed to be something different about him. The gaze of this person was more piercing than that of Wang Xiao. He seemed to be looking down on everything. It was as though Wang Xiao had come back to life. A terrifying aura flowed around his body. Shocking storms of the great path appeared around him and surged into his body frenziedly. With a flash, he shot up to the high heavens. Astonishing storms stirred up in the vast space. The entire sky was covered in storms. The wind howled, and the clouds churned. Everything was gushing into his body. Huff! Wang Xiao took a deep breath. He then revealed a smile. His smiling face was completely different from the dispirited Wang Xiao before this. The old Wang Xiao had always felt frustrated since he couldn't defeat Futian. Even though he tried hard to suppress his emotions, it still showed on his face. However, one could no longer detect that bitterness in the sparkling eyes of this current Wang Xiao. His gaze gave off a domineering vibe. He gazed into the distance as he wondered, what should he do next? It seemed like he needed to think carefully about it. Wang Xiao, he uttered. He was a fool. That's not right, he added. Then he twitched his lips mockingly. He was now Wang Xiao. When he thought of this, he adjusted his overbearing aura to the level of Wang Zhao's aura before this. After that, with a dash, he charged in the direction where the battlefield was. The cultivators on the battlefield were unaware of all that had happened. When the lord of Tianyan City saw Futian and Emo Chinga returning, he glared at them with bloodshot eyes. Had the two of them joined forces to kill Wang Xiao? Wang Xiao shouldered the fate of Tianyan City. A long time ago, he received the recognition of Tianyan the Great and inherited the latter's teachings. During the armor competition, the city lord did his best to promote Wang Xiao before everyone. He invited everyone to come and join the feast. Wang Xiao indeed gained his fame during the event. After that, because of Futian, Wang Xiao was greatly traumatized. A few years ago, Tianyan the Great trained him with a special technique, intending to make him a new emperor. Both of them clearly sensed that there was something different about Wang Zhao's temperament. Futian's gaze turned sharp. The light of Buddha flowed around him. His gaze was seemingly able to see through Wang Xiao as he stared at the latter. Sensing his gaze, Wang Xiao swept a glance at Futian. Wang Zhao's eyes were terrifying. His gaze pierced through Futian's eyes, causing him to feel acute pain. He was not Wang Xiao. A voice rang in Futian's mind. He kept a calm expression. Even though he was shocked, he did not show his emotion. Wang Xiao had died and had not come back to life. This Wang Xiao before their eyes was not the same person as before. If this Wang Xiao was not the real Wang Xiao, who was he? Futian thought of a possibility. Immediately, his face turned pale as his heart quivered. Wang Xiao inherited the teachings and the will of Tianyan the Great. The weapon he used to wield was that of Tianyan the Great too. Everything he had was given to him by the great emperor. Even Wang Zhao's divine body, which Futian assumed that he had paid a great price in order to forge, was most likely something he achieved with the help of Tianyan the Great. Back during the armor competition, the city lord revealed Wang Zhao's talent in front of everyone and elected him as the successor of Tianyan City. However, in reality, Wang Xiao had always been the candidate chosen by Tianyan the Great himself. Therefore, who would this current Wang Xiao be? The answer was as clear as day. This person was Tianyin the Great himself. Yi Futian was shocked and perturbed. Tianyin the Great was reborn in the current world with the flesh of Wang Xiao. In fact, he might have been plotting this since the day he chose Wang Xiao as his successor. He nourished himself with Wang Xiao's body and gradually snatched away everything that belonged to the latter. Wang Xiao was but a tool that Tianyin the Great used to pave his way to rebirth. Yi Futian stared straight ahead and kept a poker face. He did not tell anyone about his speculation. If this current Wang Xiao was truly Tianyin the Great, he would undoubtedly be much more frightening than before. He would most likely be able to kill Yi Futian. However, he had not done so. Clearly, he also did not wish to expose his true identity. Tianyin the Great had only been reborn in the flesh. He had yet to recover his abilities as a great emperor. Therefore, he wanted to hide his identity by pretending to be Wang Xiao for now. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.